Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest in the Russo-British Chamber of Commerce webinar series. Today we are going to look at the increasingly topical area of the automation of financial management reporting with business intelligence tools. My name is Sergey Evren. I'm the UK representative of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of the Russian Federation in London. Today we have two expert speakers from Mazars, Russia, a well-known consultancy that provides expert advice on tax and legal, audit and accounting and payroll issues for businesses. I'm delighted to welcome Ali Sultan Kyrgyzbayev, head of Mazars Labs, and Yuri Pionov, manager of Mazars Labs. Thank you as well to all RBCC members and friends for joining us today. Before we get started, I will quickly run through the ground rules as to how the webinar will run. After I have finished, Ali Sultan and Yuri will make their presentations. I'm sure many of you will want to put questions to them afterwards, so please use the chat function to send us your questions during the course of the webinar. The RBC team will be monitoring the chat room and we will try to pick out some of the more popular themes. We will have everyone on mute, so please unmute yourself and speaking, and to mute, post it on our website after the event. Now let me introduce our speakers. Ali Sultan has started his career as financial advisory consultant working on financial modeling and due diligence. 2 years later, joined Mazars UK quantitative finance team in London, specializing in credit risk modeling for top European banks. Currently, Ali Sultan leads Mazars Labs, digital consulting practice in Russia and CIS, focusing on data analytics, business intelligence, business processes, automation, and blockchain. And Yuri Pionov has experience of operational and financial advisory, including creating shared service centers, integrating company-wide business intelligence solutions, and end-to-end automation using RPA technology for Russian international companies. Yuri specializes in data analysis and optimization of accounting, treasury, and reporting processes. As a manager, Yuri is responsible for delivering projects on advanced data analytics and modeling, business intelligence, and process automation. Ladies and gentlemen, in the current environment, the workload of remote workers has significantly increased. That is why the optimization of repetitive business processes and creation of automatically updated reports could simplify their lives, our lives, and save time. Ali Sultan and Yuri, a very warm welcome, and we look forward to hearing of what you have to say.
Yes, thanks a lot, Sergey, for that detailed introduction. Thanks to everyone for joining the call, and you're all very welcomed. So let us start our presentation, and I will start sharing my screen. All right. All right. So reporting and process automation. Today we have two topics, quite intense, I would say, discussions. We have reporting automation with a BI tools and process automation with the help of RPA tools, right? So thanks to Sergey, we have a great introduction. So we are Labs department and innovative division of Mazars, focusing on data and analytics and process automation. Today, we are offering three types of services, which are data and analytics, robots and automation, and tools and platforms. So on today's call, we are talking about BI system integration and automation with RPA software. So let us start with data and analytics, and then I will let Yuri to continue on process automation. So we all know the weaknesses and the weak points of traditional forms of reporting, right? We have reports from different employees on different time, in different files and different formats, right? There is no single way of getting the right figures on the right time. Let me check the chat. Yeah, all right. So, and what is BI reporting and BI systems? So it's easy to understand with a comfortable functionality because all the data is adaptive and linked to each other. So you can interact with it, play, filter, and cross-filter the data. You have cross-platform access to the reports, meaning that you can connect to your updated reports from any device connected to the internet, including tablets, just web browsers, and mobile applications. Plus, what is the very important point is that these BI system integrations are automated, makes the reporting process automated. So since you've collected the right data, build a right data model for your reports, the reports are automated. So it will update on its own, right? And efficient use of resources. So now you don't need to spend time on shaping, reshaping data, formulating in tables and so on, right? So how does BI architecture look like? So this is the overall view of a Power BI architecture, the most, I would say, the leader of BI tools by Microsoft. So what we have a Power BI desktop as an offline desktop application that is used by architectures or by creators of the reports. So here in Power BI desktop, we gather the data from different data sources, right? We don't need to have a one data warehouse or one database for all data. So you just connecting to each of the data sources separately and then combine the data in Power BI desktop. Since you've combined the data, connect all the data and build the report, you publish these reports to Power BI service, which is a web application made by Microsoft. So since the reports are in the service, they are updated automatically by Data Gateway, and you are giving access to them to your colleagues, to employees, and yeah, so you're distributing access levels here. Once again, it's very important point that modern BI tools allows users to connect different data sources immediately to your BI system, right? There are a lot of pre-done connectors for the various tools, accounting tools, let's say accounting and CRM tools as a SAP, Salesforce, Oracle stuff, NetSuite. It could be Excel sheets, it could be Dynamics 365, QuickBooks, and any others. Right? So how does the model works? What is the business process of building that report? So you're connecting the data from different data sources, then in Power BI desktop, then you manually publish to Power BI service. Since it's published, the only thing is working is Data Gateway, which is a software piece that is updating the data from the selected data sources on your service. So this automatic refresh could be done by a specific schedule. So it could be automated, like updated daily, hourly, or on a monthly basis. So you just set a specific time of updates, or it could be just live connection to the data source. It means whenever the data is changing in the data sources, you will see updated figures. So these are a small examples of how these reports could look like, right? So it could be a cash balance report with a analysis of cash gaps, working terms with counterparties, operational cost analysis, anything. So I'm just going to go through some of the reports just for you to get a high level understanding, and after we will present the whole topic, we will go and see the specific reports and try to play them. So these are the types of reports that could be in place. So reports could not be only as a visualization of data, but it could contain like a very, from simple to very strong manipulations, to calculations, dynamic calculations, and so on. So you can put even a regression analysis inside your Power BI model, so you can get a regression results once you click on the specific report. Yeah, I'm just clicking and going through. What we will share with you is we will share with you by the request, we will share with you a test Power BI account, which is made by our team just for everyone. So you can contact us to request a password for this specific login, and you can play around yourself and try to even change something, to click, to drag and drop, to see how it looks and what could help you or not. You will just realize and understand on your own, right? So speaking about the projects and how it's done, just for your understanding of how complex it is. So average project from 5 to 10 reports, we would say, is about 4 weeks to implement. So 3 weeks is pure implementation, and then in our practice we go in 1 week for post-implementation trainings and follow-ups. So we can do some trainings for not only how to use it, but also how to maintain it, how to create, how to change, and so on and so on, right? So basically the project has a 3 steps. So data and connections. So we're defining reports with the client, with you. Then we're defining a data source interface with Power BI. So we just understand which data and how we will connect. Then we producing a reports, designing them, and configuring the data gateway for updates. What is going ahead, maybe for your questions, what is our advantage? We feel and we know is that we are first of all consultants, and first of all we are financial advisory consultants. So we're not purely IT guys, so we understand the business, we understand the accounting, and for us it's much more, maybe not, but still much more easy to understand your needs and to understand which reports, who will use it, how to use it, and what data should be inside, and so on, right? So with the Power BI and any BI tool implementation projects, it's also a big part coming through is a consultancy about the data quality, about the process, accounting processes. And the last level is a access management and dashboard setup, where we just understanding and realizing what accesses should be in place, how to differentiate the accesses between people, between employees, and levels of management. Yeah, that's basically it. Before we go into robots and automation, I would let right now Yuri to share his screen to go through some of the reports. Yuri, please.
Yes, thank you, Ali. And hello to everyone. I hope you can see my screen now.
Yep.
So what you can see right now is a standard Power BI workspace where all of your reports will be stored. These are the drafts of the reports with anonymized data just for the purposes of the presentation. But what indeed they contain is the full information on all KPIs of the company to keep track of all activities and make valuable business decisions on time. So we're going to quickly run through them with you and to show you the main features of Power BI as analytics tool. So the first report shows us our CRM data, and here we can see the total numbers of opportunities won, lost, or pending, and we can see the breakdown of them as distribution by different partners. We can see the top partners and so on. And how Power BI is really working is that you can go from the very top level of data to see the overall amounts by the main departments, or you can go as deep as possible up until the very lowest name of the specific opportunity. And the same applies to any kind of data. If we're talking about sales, we'll start with sales by the general department, and we can end up with a specific SKU sold at a specific date. Furthermore, when we click on any of the graphical elements, we can see that the data will be updated. So every feature of the report is interactive, and by simple clicks, you can explore your data quickly and efficiently. You can set any combination of filters from the top level up to the main categories, and have a quick picture of your company at glance with a way to have any detail of your interest. Needless to say that all this data is retrieved from the data sources automatically and is always up to date, shows the very relevant information. We can see that we can switch between different types of the data by different sources of opportunities and so on, and so we can efficiently manage our client relationships. Power BI is not only for analytics and managerial reporting. We can see that it's a very useful tool for reviewing and analyzing your standard financial reporting. Here we can see, as an example, the report on profit and losses with a detailed breakdown of each line, all the KPIs calculated and highlighted. We can see comparison with the expected budget and also highlighted variations. And also we can see the values of the past year. If we click on any line of here, we can see graphical comparison for our convenience. And we can see also the breakdown by different departments. We can see the breakdown by different subsidiaries, go further by specific lines of business, and so on. We can select any historical time zone, and we can select any types of budget, positive, negative forecast. We can select several months of our interest. They shouldn't be following each other. So we can see that the interaction is very easy, it's very comprehensive and very intuitive. We can also add additional analysis, adding specific filters and going deep into the detail. Next report is account receivable, very relevant for any business to be efficient in managing your receivables and billings. So we can see here the total account receivables and breakdown by different aging groups. We can also, by clicking on any department, see who is responsible for which level of VIP, and we can easily isolate specific numbers just for very long overdue aging. What's the advantage of Power BI? You can see that navigation is very easy and very intuitive, but even if you want to learn more about your data in a more familiar way, you can always extract any data with any filters in a standard Excel format and to keep working on it as you wish. Additionally, you can quickly save data to PowerPoint presentation, to PDF, and share your insights just a couple of minutes before the presentation.
Yes, thanks a lot, Yuri. So this was just a super quick presentation of some standard reports. If we will have time in the end of the presentation, we will go through some different reports with more, I would say, not traditional way of presenting things, not with just tables, but maps and some different graphs and so on. So we will come back to this after we will finish. So yeah, I'll let Yuri continue to the robots and automation, and thanks a lot.
Yes. Now let's move to another part of automation, which is very relevant to any business, is how to make repetitive and boring tasks go away, and to let employees to focus more on analytical work and making some highly value-added decisions. So what is robotics? And the term which is usually used in the industries is shortly RPA, robotic process automation. What it means is just the new type of computer application which is set on servers on personal computers of employees. What it does is it helps employees to perform repeated actions and interact with interfaces of typical applications such as OneC, SAP, Oracle, any accounting applications that employees are working with on a daily basis. And the robot just performs repetitive or low value added tasks with a very high frequency and efficiency. The robot can be activated by specific event, which is new email received or new transaction appearing in the system, new file coming for transaction, or a simple click of the mouse by an employee. Alternatively, you can schedule the robot to run with a specific frequency on schedule. What are the main benefits and why its popularity is growing? What can RPA bring to your business? First of all, it's a very quick return on investment. After implementing a project, it pays back usually in less than a year, just because of the saved capacities and the saved time on performing repetitive tasks. Needless to say that it improves customer experience due to the quick performing of the task and customer requests, as well as it takes very hard, repetitive, and boring work from the employees, which is beneficial for the workers. Instead, employees can focus on the value-adding activities because they have more free time, because part of the work is taken by the robots. A very big advantage is that there is no integration required, so you don't need to implement very costly requests for changes of the current systems, because the robot will work in the same way as an employee. It will just repeat the same actions and no changes are not needed from IT. Robot helps to significantly reduce error rate because it doesn't distract. It keeps working without any stop, without any delay, and can work 24/7. And finally, you can always check what activity was performed by the robot at what time, and identify any issues long time before they were, long time after they were performed by robot. How it really works and what's the real value of the robot is that no matter how complicated the process is, you can always decompose it in a very small and simple steps, which can be performed by the robot. So we are able to take standard set of activities such as work with email, log into system, opening browser, just browsing internet, moving files or creating new files, copying, pasting, filling the forms, transferring data, or any kind of logic when you can say specifically do something when another condition happens. And by the combination of all these actions, we are actually able to replicate and make the very complicated long processes to be completely automated, such as doing accounts receivable management, reconciling bank statements and posting them in the system, changing of the client data, performing long process of KYC with different systems and all regulations, reconciliations with your counterparties or the clients, loans processing, or HR procedures such as onboarding a new employee. So you can see basically that any process can be robotized and automated just by splitting it and narrowing it down to very specific sets of actions that can be understood by the robot and performed in a specific logic. So how robotics works and what are the main components of the RPA architecture? First of all, it's the studio. It's the software itself where you are creating robots. What is the value of such tools, such software as UiPath or Blue Prism is that you don't need to be a real developer, no specific coding language, or you don't need to be very technical at computer computer software. Any employee can use the software just by dragging and dropping already developed functionality to automate very simple tasks that they are doing every day on their workspace. Also, there are libraries of already predefined and ready processes where you can just make a little tweaks to make it work for your personal process. When we're talking about more complicated processes, which are relating different departments and many sources of data, we need orchestrator that helps to combine many robots and to manage them. It involves deployment of the robots, scheduling and tracking the efficiency of the robots, and also checking any errors or exceptions that can happen in the process. And finally, who are doing the job itself are the robots, which are installed either on the personal workstation of employees or on the server of the organization. What needs to be noted here is that one robot can perform multiple processes. So you can just load one robot with the 5 processes, which robot will repeat one after another during the whole day. So this is also an issue of managing the capacity and managing the automatic labor force if you implement RPA in your organization. The two main types of robots can be split and defined as attended and unattended robots. Attended robots are robots who are acting like personal assistants of the employees on their workspace, and they are interacting in the course of person doing the job, but part of it being performed by the robot for the purpose of efficiency, speed, or checking the errors. So they usually are set on the personal computers and involve front office tasks which require some human intervention and to avoid that involves some human judgment in the process. They are triggered manually by the employee himself and controlled locally. They are very quick to implement. They provide and prove their efficiency very fast and are preferred for the purpose of proof of concept. And they are less disruptive to the existing process because basically robot will do exactly the same actions as the employee. Alternatively, unattended robot, it's usually a background machine which works non-stop and performs the tasks of the back office. These robots are controlled remotely and autonomously performing set of tasks that don't require human intervention. Usually those are very long processes, time-consuming, repetitive, and which are not depending on a very big amount of rules. They are used for key processes which are common for the whole company and help to capture more value due to the scale of the implementation. And finally, we mentioned before that any kind of process can be automated, but it doesn't mean that we really need to do that with any process. What's important is do a preliminary analysis of the process itself in order to understand if it has the potential for automation, if it will be valuable for the firm to implement this robot, or it's better to maintain this process to be done manually by employees. So the two main criteria which we always need to consider is if the process is fit for automation and how complicated it is. What we mean by process fitness? We are saying that processes that are fit for automation must fall in following 4 criteria, which is rule-based, that no decisions should be done by the human, and that we can define strict logic of doing the process step by step. Second, the process should be good for automation, and the process should do repetitive tasks, because only repetitive and time-consuming tasks will provide us with required savings in the business. Third criteria is that the input is standard and that the process uses only electronic and easily interpretable documents by the robot. Needless to say that the robot can also process even scan copies or in a very complicated cases, handwritings, but more standard the input is, the better it for automation and more reliable the robot will be. The best input is standard input file of Excel format or probably some tables in accounting systems. And finally, the process must be stable, meaning that the process isn't changing for the last at least half a year and there are no expected changes in the IT infrastructure. Otherwise, the robot will be required to be completely redone from scratch. From the point of complexity, what we need to consider is number of screens which are going to be used by the robot, because the robot is going to use the same screen interaction as the human. Less screens makes the robot to work easier. Types of application is also relevant because some applications are less ready for automation, and on purpose some software companies are doing their applications complicated or limit automation capacities for them. So the most frequent examples is Microsoft Excel, and it itself already has plenty of features for ready automation. Some applications require more effort to set and establish the interaction with the systems. Business logic scenarios require to develop a whole different set of sequence for the process. Simpler the process it is, less exceptions it has, the better would be effect of automation. And finally, the number of and types of inputs is very relevant. Even if the only input is invoices, we know that invoices can go in very different number of designs, different fields, and so on. And the more the variety, the harder it will be to standardize, because for every type we will need to make a different logic and different set of smaller robots inside the main process. When we're talking about practical implementation of robots within organization, we can distinguish between these stages of implementation. First of all is opportunity assessment. This is a must step to be taken, just to analyze existing processes and rank them based on their potential and the set of criteria we discussed before, how fit the process and how complicated it is, so that we are choosing and start first of all with a process with the highest potential and economic effect from the implementation. Then we need to choose the right tool, because there are plenty of players in the market, and it's important to choose the right software and right tools for the specific case and specific inputs and logics of the project. Proof of concept is used as a point of entry for a company. Usually a standard process is automated just to show how it works, to make all employees and who are involved in the process to meet the robot, to see how it works, and on a practical example, evaluate its benefits. This is usually implemented quickly in terms of 3 or 4 weeks, and already allows to automate some easy or medium tasks of the real operational business. Full-scale implementation involves developing end-to-end processes with a complicated logic. It also requires documenting all the processes, changing and optimizing the steps in the process of automation, because in most of the cases, when we automate the process, it becomes adjusted, more efficient, and more reliable. So we are making sure that all checks and controls are done to make sure that the process can be completely automated. Usually this process takes from 2 to 6 months, depending on the number of processes and their complexity. And finally, the last stage of the journey towards turning the company to RPA company and using its full benefits is creating own center of excellence within the organization. This includes describing all processes, roles, and tools that are going to be used by the internal employees. It's implementing implementing of projects on the industrial scale. So keeping analyzing new processes and implementing more and more robots. And the length of it can depend just on the size and the complexity of the organization. These are the main roles which are required at the Center of Excellence with multiple robots, and the same set of roles is required to implement the first robot as well. The only difference is that at the very beginning of the implementation, usually the companies don't have the required competences or the employees available who can support the project in this mentioned roles. From our side, we are able to provide any set of these roles within our team or completely do the whole implementation from our side with the further trainings and learning of the employees of the client. So the main roles are RPA sponsor, which is usually the leading department who is ahead of others in terms of adopting different technologies. And they are usually pioneers in terms of the willingness to try and to show other departments how it works. RPA champions are the people who are finalizing the process after the first implementation and keep the development going so that more and more processes are automated. Change management is very crucial just to let other departments and employees know about what's going to happen to the organization after the implementation of RPA and managing further communications when RPA is already implemented. Analyzing business process to document the proper robotics logic and to take into account all the specifics of the business process. RPA solution architect makes sure that all components of the solution are gonna work together well, starting from the business description and ending with the specific development tools. Developer who is making sure that the solution is coded properly and is working. Infrastructure engineer makes sure that all infrastructure is set in place and is functional. Supervisor just coordinates between different participants of the project, and if the many people are involved within an organization, also RPA service support helps people to solve some operational issues within robotization. Those are all roles are required in different times of the project and in different efforts, depending on the size of the implementation. But all of them are required if we want to ensure that automation is going in the right way and will keep continuing and bringing its effects in the future.
So just to be more precise, let's try to show you how robot works. Just a small video for...
We are going to demonstrate a typical process which was automated which has automated OneC application and the processing of invoices, which were received by email. So we're going to just start it and explain what's going on at the same time. So this is how software looks like, and the robot is running right now. It prepares all preparatory actions. Then we are receiving email, and we can see that we have 2 invoices in our inbox. Invoices are saved on folder. Robot recognized that those are the invoices that should be processed. After which the robot understands that this manipulation should be done in OneC. Robot logs in, opens the required section of the software. Right now we open the invoice and extracted all data. After extracting, robot fills in all required fields depending on the content of the invoice and creates an entry in the system. Right now we are opening another invoice as well, extracting the data. And you can see that the robot does all steps very quickly. This is the typical pace, and there are no errors or typos possible when the process is done by the robot. Everything is done just to make sure the robot creates a report with the list of all invoices input in the system, and we set the logic that this report should be sent to a responsible person. So we can see that invoice report was received.
So for sure, it doesn't mean that RPA tools are working only with a Outlook email service and with OneC program. So it's just a small example of a popular, I would say, implementation, but the process itself could be just upon your imagination and your industry specific processes and so on. So just we understood that it was a lot of information for this like just 30 minutes. Let's start from the questions, and we will deep inside some questions, and we will elaborate more on some specific questions. All right.
Yes, thank you, Ali and Yuri. I've been spoken about almost 1 hour about IT, a lot of terminology. And that is why I like your initial remark at the very beginning of this presentation that you are not IT guys. that's very nice. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're very welcome to ask your questions. We will check our chat room, and if I may just ask my personal question. The first one, maybe it's Ali, question to you. While preparing for today's webinar, I have checked both international and Russian versions of the website of Mazars and was surprised by the numbers of professionals working for you on day-to-day basis worldwide, and of course in Russia in particular. Mazars works in 91 countries, as written there, and has more than 40,000 professionals working for you. In Russia, Mazars offices in Moscow and St. Petersburg employs over 250 highly qualified staff members. And your activity is not limited to Moscow and St. Petersburg. Mazars also develops projects in Russian regions and a number of CIS countries. May I ask you if which regions of the Russian Federation are more active or involved deeply in the automation of financial management? If possible, as a representative of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of the Russian Federation, I would like to mention that we represent more than 180 regional chambers of commerce with more than 50,000 member companies in all regions of Russia. Would you prefer to consider having a joint events with some of these chambers to promote a development of the business intelligence tools you have spoken today? What regions would be of your preference? And maybe also one question to Yuri, very small, that I understand my question would be maybe an easiest one for the professional, but it is very interesting. I have a laptop, which is Mac, and what's the difference, Yuri, of your robots and regular automator in Mac computer system? Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot for your question. Let me start from the first ones. Regarding the preferred region, I would say that there is no preferred region for sure. We're working with all regions, but this is more a question of where in which region some specific processes are in place. So we are just dealing with this, right? Regarding the more technical question about what's the difference between the tools we introduced today and macOS Automator inbuilt Apple software piece, that is, this set of tools are industrial. So Mac Automator, it's more like some specific set of automations needed for a person to run your personal laptop. So it's more about some specific sort of pre-built options and scenarios. But the overall idea is quite similar, to be honest. So it's about drag and drop. It's about pre-built functions with some specific functions. But nowadays, these RPA tools that we described, for example, UI Plus or Blue Prism, has a 100 or 1,000 features more, I would say, than macOS Automator, and this is built and this question will also be relative with a question from Louis Green, saying what are the risks and security risks involved with RPA, that all the tools are built within the highest security certificates. We can, if you can drop us an email, we can send some specific information with the standards and compliance stuff. So yeah, so these tools are more industrial tools and for industrial automation than just personal.
I can also add,
yes,
if I may, to the same question.
Sure.
It also is relevant to what we said. The choosing the tool is crucial, because if we can see that the process is very simple, easy to automate, and the employee is using Mac, we would always recommend to use with this fast and easy solution, which doesn't require any investment. But when we're talking about a large-scale enterprise-level implementation, we're talking about very big amount of employees, very complicated processes, and the advantage of this softwares developing specific solutions for RPA is that they provide the whole infrastructure and environment for managing multiple robots, control of the exceptions, and making sure that the process is stable and working properly. So you cannot do that on individual computers. You cannot schedule or remotely launch the robot on multiple machines or to control how they sequence each process. So this whole question of
for your question. And now coming back to professionals, BI system question. Could you show the example of connection with OneC?
So here I would start from that. We check it. Okay, so show the example of connection with OneC. So the reports that
I think it's a bookkeeping program. Yeah, OneC.
Yeah, that's are built are always you can access it at Microsoft Web Service, right? So you don't see what is the connection, I mean, right away. So how do we work? Maybe I will elaborate more on this. So how we will work. So for example, OneC mostly, like commonly, has a database behind it, right? So OneC doesn't store like a lot of information just in OneC. So if you have a OneC connected to any, for example, SQL database or any other database, what we are doing when building reports, we are connecting to the data source itself, not a OneC interface. Why? Because OneC is so for everybody, maybe not everyone is are familiar with the software. So OneC is a local software used in Russia and CIS countries mostly. And it has some specifics and some specific rules of how it's organized and architecture and so on. So the best way here, the best sustainable way, I would say, is to connect to the databases behind the OneC, not the OneC interface.
All right. One short question. Can the automation system be used in different countries without any legal limitations?
Let me try to answer this question, like how I am understand, and please let me know if this will help. So what are the limitation could be? Maybe it's a personal data, right? It's a mostly I would say that maybe this was a real question, is how we handle these personal data questions. So if we have some sensitive personal data that is not stored, for example, originated from Russia but not stored in Russia, how we can handle this is the Power BI is not a place of origination, right? It's just a copy, I would say, of data. If you are sensitive that much that you cannot even give your data to be processed by Microsoft, what can be done is anonymizing the data and then refilling it with a local Russian, I would say, source of the data to bring back the picture of a specific personal data. So this is a tricky point, I would say, and this question needs some specific detailed analysis to be done. So, but just feel free to drop us an email with a maybe more specific question, and then we will do our best to answer it.
And I also believe that this question is also was regarding RPA implementation. To add on top of that, we would say that when we set up RPA algorithm, we are assigning it as a new user to the system, which will be replicating just like a regular employee. And in order to ensure the security of the data of the system interaction, we are just limiting the roles or the rights to the data or actions to this robot account, the same as would be to the employee. So for attended robot, all checks and controls would be within the same IT security policy. When we're talking about unattended robot, and when we are using server for more industrial solution and back office operations, definitely it's a mandatory part of the project for us to ensure what are the risks, and we are implementing additional controls in a close collaboration with IT and security team to make sure that all data will be processed and worked with in a secure way. But again, when we're talking about the robot, everything is done on the infrastructure of the client. So everything is within own IT, and there are no risks of sending data outside. Of course, if it doesn't take into account this process itself, when within the process, the current employee is sending that data somewhere. But again, those are very detailed questions on specific process, but we can consult on that. And that's our main priority, to make sure that the process will be secure and stable.
I see. Thank you, Yuri. Another question from Yana. Would you mind,
yeah.
Ali, would you mind taking it, please?
Yeah, for sure. So let me recall it fast. When robot creates invoice automatically, it's possible that algorithm could analyze stocks and forecasts for exact client and stop alarm us if this client order more boxes than his forecast. For example, we have forecast for the client. He promised to buy 100 boxes per month, but suddenly he ordered like different amount. And so this is a very typical, I would say, questions. And yes, for sure, this could be automated. So what is very important is to put a right process in place. So if we will program and create robot in a manner that, okay, if you have this order, first go to the stocks, check it, send some questions to some specific people, send some confirmation, receive confirmation. If you get the confirmation, then you can confirm the client for this specific amount of boxes. So again, it's just a process consulting, and we are also happy to consult you on this.
And one more question from Georgi. Is it reasonably easy to readjust the tools in case the source data changes often? For example, an invoice processing also similar to the one shown in the video, but the counterpart is changing the sender, invoice, naming and structure, etc. Every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I can start with this question. We mentioned that types of data and their structure of the input is relevant when we try to assess if we need RPA or not. The answer would be it is possible to make these adjustments, but we would not recommend this process to be automated, because first of all, it will always stop process at least for some time when we are making the adjustments and make additional modifications, and this stops the process from being automated end to end, which will require additional people to be involved in the process, additional risks of not meeting the time constraints within the process, and so on. But yes, if these changes happen and they again have some logic behind it, so at least when we have all the same fields and they are having some specific specific location or at least keywords within the document, we will be able to develop some algorithm to identify it. Beyond that, we are also able to develop more complicated artificial intelligence algorithm for identification of this type of information. Again, the only thing is that it will be time consuming to develop it. It will be very effective, but not probably very cost efficient. So we need to really make a good assessment of the benefits and the costs related to this process.
Thank you for your input, Yuri. We're almost done for today. Any final points from you, Ali, Sultan, and Yuri?
Yeah. Yes, thanks a lot. So coming with both topics, Power BI and RPA, what we can do, if you have some specific question, you can for sure drop us an email. We can do a more, I would say, extended presentation with a more detailed views, more detailed examples, and so on. Plus, we are giving, when it's talking about Power BI reports, what we are doing, we're giving just some demonstrational report based on your data, just for free, with just a small analysis to you to understand how it's good or fit your business or not. And when it comes for RPA, it's also what we can do for you as just introducing. You can just send us a short description of the process, and we can do a high-level assessment of should it be automated, what is the maybe just around some sample price of it or something like this, right? So don't hesitate to send us any information and contact us for your questions. Yeah.
All right, Yuri.
Yes, I would just add that every case for every company is very different, and it requires at least some personal involvement to do at least any assessment. And we are open to your questions and to look at how we can help you with automating any of your process, if it's doing some steps or just working with the data.
Lovely. Ali, Sultan, Yuri, thank you for the fascinating talk. It was very eye-opening. I'm afraid this is all we have time for today. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today, and see you next time. Bye. Bye.